Welcome to Engine Builder channel. In this video, we will learn about async work, the why, what, when, and the how. We will review its benefits, the challenges it poses. We will make it easy to decide when to async. We will discuss on making the experience of async work the best for you. We will understand how the goals and tasks are linked with the tools of doing asynchronous work. We will also understand how asynchronous work actually helps in open source projects, and then we will dive into hands-on demo of a couple of open source tools like GitHub discussions and projects. You can directly dive into the hands-on demo. However, if you would like to understand a bit more about async, just stay tuned for a couple of slides. Why to async? A team never works together. The team members work individually and they bring the work together, and it actually feels as if the team members actually worked together. In reality, that's never the case. The async work makes this much more prominent. There are a couple of team members who are working on their own activity at different times, and their work is actually brought together, and finally a product is made. This is how most of the major projects are being done today. Think about the bridges, the road bridges that are getting built, or the house that you're living got built. It was continuously made using async activities. And there are many other examples, including the cooking that we are doing in our kitchen. Second is the time. Time is actually precious, whether it is your time or my time. This mindset actually is very important for async work. Third is the innate drive for everybody to deliver the best. The moment someone has that innate drive, and they have to be given the space, time, and the necessary resources so they can deliver the best. Async work makes this possible. We can actually make the async work much more helpful to us because we can allow the individuals to work when they are at their peak, and we can keep the ball rolling for the project by actually getting the work done by various team members at their peak efficiency, and then we can assemble it together. So that's where the coordination and the management of the projects come into picture. We can avoid all kinds of frills like the travel. We can automate the work that is repetitive. All of these things are possible, and most important thing is you actually don't need to hire if the job can be automated. This is one of the main things that I wanted to highlight in this discussion. The moment you make this decision, if you are actually hiring for a closed source project or open source project, it doesn't make much of a difference. If it can be automated, then you should automate and not get a resource for it. Let's go to the next slide. When to async? One of the major questions that you will have once you think about asynchronous work is you have never done it before. That's what you will immediately think, but in fact you are doing it day in and day out. Whether you are doing software engineering or not, you are doing async work to a certain extent. Only thing is the way you communicate is different. That's where the tools, technologies that we are going to cover in this video will help you out. This flowchart that you're seeing here is a simple flowchart that you can use for deciding whether to actually have a meeting that is a synchronous meeting or to move for any of the asynchronous way of work. When it comes to synchronous, there are a couple of simple synchronous activities, like you can have a call, you can have a live chat, or you can have a face-to-face meeting. These are the three synchronous things that you can do, or you can sit together and start working on resolving a issue, right? So there are 4 different ways. When it comes to asynchronous, there are a couple of ways. The same way, you can make the asynchronous email, you can send an email, you can create a voice mail or a voice message, you can create a video message the way I'm creating right now. It could be a small 5 minutes or 10 minutes video where you show what's the point that you want to make. And finally, if this particular discussion or the data is going to be useful for the future team members and it's going to be useful for the future customers, then document it as a documentation. So all of these things are the opportunities that you have, but when to use what? That is what the this particular flowchart shares. The flowchart will be shared with you guys over the description below in the YouTube channel, and also if you guys want to have a look at it, I will also share the file with you guys in the GitHub repo. So both of these things will be available. You can take a look at it. It's a pretty straightforward English here. It looks like a code here, but it's actually a simple English. And the main point I wanted to make is, can this be communicated efficiently in an asynchronous format? So this is the main point. And if you are going to answer yes for this, then you have to decide whether it is going to be visual explanation, whether it's going to be audio, whether it's going to be written in diagrams as documentation, or you are just going to write it as email. So that is the point I wanted to make. You can actually make an informed decision. That's what I wanted to share with you guys in this slide. Next is the benefits of async work. Deep work is a norm. So when you're going to get into async work, you are going to be engrossed in your work. You are not going to think, okay, who is going to call you into a meeting or discuss something that that they are not aware of, or some of the other doubts that is going to come up. In case of asynchronous, you have taken care of all the communications that the other team members will need, because your communication is at a very high level. So you are thinking about what the team members will want ahead of time, and you are actually making the documentation or sharing the information to the team members. Whatever you're doing, every moment in your project, you're actually documenting it, not because that you want that particular document, but you can share that information with the rest of the team as well as with the users in the future. So that's another benefit. Third is better control. The moment you have all of the nitty-gritty details sorted out, and you have a peace of mind to work on a project that you are working on, or a problem that you're solving. So these are one of the couple of major benefits in asynchronous work. Let's move to the next slide. The work is brought together. That's the point I have been making here, but not the people. See, best async experience occurs when you have clear processes with clearer intentions. You have to bring the work of multiple peoples together to solve a problem. You don't need to bring the people together. You need to invest in writing, that is practical presentations, and you need to communicate everything upfront. The more you communicate, the more you think, the more you visualize and simulate the future, the better async work will be. This is not available for everybody from the get-go. It takes time, it takes practice, and it takes a lot of effort from the worker themselves. But as I told, the async work is about having a norm. It's about having a deep work, right? So when you're actually in deep work, you have actually given a set of time for yourself to solve a problem, and you're going to get deep into it and solve it as much as possible. Let's go to the tools now. So when it comes to the tools are there to help you solve the tasks. Keep in mind, the goals have to be achieved by you. The goals will not be achieved by the tools or by the tasks. The tasks that are required to be completed can be done with the help of the tools. Yes, the tasks can be ticked out, but the goal, it could be whatever goal you are trying to achieve, has to be still take and owned by you, right? This concept of owning the goals and deciding the tasks and delegating the tasks to the tools is a little bit different when it comes to async work. In case of asynchronous work, a lot of different people are going to do different work, and you have to bring the work together, and you need to ensure that you're able to achieve that goal for yourself. This is same for everybody. Even the contributor who is going to give you the code or the design is going to take work from others, and he's going to parcel it and package it in such a way that his goal has been completed or his task has been completed. So you see the ownership of this underlying process, right? This is one of the main points I wanted to highlight in this slide. We can actually do much of the tools from the GitHub itself. So we have projects in GitHub, we have discussions, we have repositories, and we have documentations that you can store in GitHub and you can host it there. So almost all of the asynchronous work that you need to do and host the data can be done in GitHub for free, in fact, whether it is the code, whether it is the documentation, MD Markdown files. And then when it comes to the presentations, you can use tools like Canva and Obsidian. You can take the data for presentation from the projects inside GitHub or from discussions if you want. For the audio extraction and text extraction, you can use open source applications like FFmpeg and Whisper. When it comes to Jupyter Notebooks, if you are working in Python and you want to share your code with the rest of the team, you can use Kaggle and Collab notebooks, and you can store the Jupyter Notebook in repositories again. Finally, for video communications, you can use many open source recording softwares, recording extensions on your Chrome browser, or you can use OBS. It's one of the very stable and also extensively used recording software in the industry right now. For hosting these recordings, you can use Loom, YouTube, and there are various other services that is available, or you can host it by yourself by just sending it to any of the real-time communication messages. Real-time communication messaging platforms themselves are like a hosting platform. Think about it. You're going to have a lot of messages flowing, and each of the message can be a video, right? So that means the video is actually sitting inside the messaging servers or the WhatsApp server or Telegram servers, and you can call those videos whenever you want, and it actually downloads to your machine or your on your phone, and you can view it. So it is actually a storage area for your videos. So there are a number of tools. We have already discussed that, but now we will actually look at how one of the open source projects gets started. The project or any activity starts with basic ideation and planning. So this can happen in any of the other channels which is not linked with GitHub or any of the tools. You can do it even manually, sitting on a table and chair, doing face-to-face discussions. But then comes the interesting part. You have to enable GH, that is GitHub discussions, and the moment you enable it, after that you have to update the project idea into the discussion area. This is where you are going to disclose all your project ideas and your next steps or the roadmap to the entire community who is going to get into this project. You are going to do it once and you can update it any number of times because the discussion area is under your control as a maintainer or as a project manager. This actually helps you to streamline your communication channel for the entire community. The other communication channels like WhatsApp, Telegram is not very easy to maintain because you have to update the message every time, the entire message every time. But in case of GitHub discussions or GitHub repositories and projects, you have to just edit the discussions. I'll be showing you these things, nuances in the next couple of minutes. So stay tuned for that. Finally, you can actually create GitHub projects if the number of tasks that is required for achieving the project is in large numbers. So if there is going to be 12 to 15 tasks or 20 to 25 tasks, then it is always better to create a project and create issues, then move the issues into the project and start working on it one by one. So once that project has been set up, then you can start the development process. The development strategies and the branching strategies can be discussed. You can work on the various automation opportunities that is already provided by GitHub, like workflows and linting options, the documentation using MKDocs. So there are lots of things that we will dive into in the next couple of minutes. But this is an overall picture of how open source projects gets kicked off. Right, the kickoff happens when your project idea has been updated in the discussions area. So that is the key, and after that you can create multiple projects or whichever way you like it, and each of the projects will have multiple issues. So I believe that till now you have got some good idea on how the entire async work happens, what are the benefits, why we are doing async work, how to decide when to do async work. All of these things have been covered along with the tools that we can use in the open source market, and these are a couple of places where we can use GitHub especially for working on these kinds of new open source projects. We'll be going through each of these steps one by one next. So if you want to take a review of this till now, you can just do a review of this, review of the content, and you can start working on the next couple of sections. It's better to have a GitHub account by yourself, open an organization if you want, or use your existing organization. That will also be better, but follow along with me so that it will be easier for you to make sense of these things. Let's now begin by working on starting an open source project on the GitHub repository. So if you go to your GitHub repository, it will look something like this on the dashboard on your homepage. What you need to do is you need to first begin by creating a new repository. So click here. You can actually try to go into the repositories from here, or you can actually go to the repositories in this location and then click on new repository. Ensure that you create a private repository to begin with when you are practicing. But in reality, when you're going to create a project, it's going to be public repository. So I'm going to create this as public, but when you are practicing, ensure that it is going to be a private repository. Practice project open source. Right. So this is the repository that I'm creating, and you can add a README, and you can better decide the tech stack. In my case, I'm just taking it as Python and I'm giving a Git Ignore template, and I'm going to say the license is going to be Apache license 2.0. This is the repository that I'm creating, and once you create the repository, it will get reflected on your dashboard. So there you will see this kind of an update with the README, etc. By default, the projects will be enabled for your repository, but you will not see any discussions. So click on the settings. Once you go into the settings, you can scroll down and you will see that there is this discussions option. So click on this discussion. It will take a moment, and if you scroll up, you will see the discussions is already up and running. So this is how you actually enable discussions on your repository first. When we discussed about the projects, right, or the steps that we are taking, there is an initial ideation and planning. We enable GH discussion, update project idea, create GH projects, and then the development begins. So when we build the project or develop the project, then only we will create the repository. But in case of GitHub, what is happening is we need to first have a repository in our hand, and then you can actually have projects and the discussions. So this is a little bit different from how we have seen in the flow here. Okay, but in case of the actual practical work, it will be a little bit different. So you have to get the repository first. You have other ways of getting the discussions and the projects to work, but that can actually confuse you. So I had tried those introductions before I made this video, and then decided to stick with this flow. So first the repository, then enable the discussions, and then start working on the steps that you want to proceed further. So once you create this kind of a discussion, you will only have the category, and none of this area will be populated. What you can do is you can start populating by creating a new discussion area, and you can start by announcing. So this is the first announcement that we'll be doing. So when you click on get started, it will take a moment. It will ask you to update the title. It will ask you to add a body. So you can say the project idea and roadmap, and you can share the idea explanation with the roadmap. And once you start the discussion, the discussion will be available for everybody who is joining the repository. So you can see that the project idea and the roadmap title along with the basic introduction has been created, and you can control the discussion using this set of things. So you can log the conversation, transfer this discussion, you can create an issue from the discussion. So these things you will see how to work. You can pin and unpin, and you can delete the discussion or close it. So there are lots of options you can do, and people who join this discussion can update their comments here. So this is how the basic forum works inside GitHub. So you're not even going out, and the project code is right next to it. So the project code is here, and then you are working everything from here. If you want some couple of examples of how a discussion will look like, so I will show you that right now. So if you go to the discussions on my area, you can see I've actually created a basic discussions dummy kind of a setup. So here you can see that I have populated the existing templates. So there is a contributing guide, there is a code of conduct guide, there is the announcement of the new project. We can create issues and move it to discussion that we'll see next. So all of these things, this is how your discussions will look. So if you go into contributing project name, you can see the template, how to contribute to this project, and you can see the comments here from the varieties of contributors as well as the collaborators. You can go to the settings again, you can add the collaborators to the repository by using these collaborators, which most of you guys must be knowing. Apart from that, you don't actually need to add collaborators to this. People can create pull requests, and from the pull requests, you can manage everything. So that is a different discussion altogether, but here we are discussing on the initial part of creating the project and starting it. So we have seen the basics of discussions and how it gets started. What we are going to do next is there is something called as issues. So once you create the discussion, so once you have shown that there is a project that you want to run and what is the idea behind it, people will start commenting here and people will start providing ideas, and you will also have some ideas, right? All of these things will start getting populated here. Not just in one discussion, it can happen in multiple discussions for multiple features. Once you are done that, you can actually create an issue from the discussion. So if you create issue from the discussion, what will happen is that the entire discussion context will actually become the body, and it will actually become a title for a new issue, right? So if I click on create now, what will happen is there will be a new issue that gets created. So if you go into the issues here, so you'll see there is a new issue that got created just a minute ago. So the discussion became the issue. You're getting the point, right? Once it has become the issue here, then the development team can take this issue and they can start developing on that issue. So this is one of the major point I wanted the team to understand. So how the discussions and the issues actually work together. Once the issue has been done, or if there is going to be any kind of brainstorming that needs to be done, you can do it here also, but you can actually convert this to discussion again. So if you click on convert to discussion, what will happen is it will go and sit inside the discussions back. So this back and forth between the issues and the discussions is how the brainstorming on a particular issue happens. So you don't need to have any other channel on any grounds, right? If you want an idea to be brainstormed, or if you want a problem to be resolved, you can actually move it to the discussion, do the discussions there, get all the ideas, then move it back to the issue and then start development. So that is how the overall workflow happens. And this ensures that none of the ideas and points that was given by a contributor or by the moderator or by the coordinator is lost. It's all there inside the GitHub repo, and you can access it anytime you want. And most importantly, you can share it with the rest of the people who are reviewing this. Right. So this is actually, very important. This idea is the basement for actually having the asynchronous kind of work. So we have seen how the discussions and the issues work together. But now the question is where the projects come in. The projects is kind of a setup where you are going to have a lot of things to manage. So if you're having some 10 to 15 issues, then you can create a new project. So once you create a new project, you can select the template that you want to manage. So if I select Kanban, there are many other templates that you can select from. Kanban is mostly known to the people. So I'm using this particular Kanban board. You can give the name. So you can say temp project, and you can create the project here. Now the idea of the project is kind of in between both the discussions as well as the issues. The project allows you to check what are the issues that are in backlog. So if you click on a new item here, I can create from using the issues in the repository. So if you click on this, you can go to the repository whichever has got an issue. So you can select that issue. You can select that issue and you can click on add that issue to the project. So it gets added to the backlog. So you can see that here, and you can start moving it. And you can do a lot of things. You can have a different kinds of boards here. You can have a roadmap that you can create here with the timelines. You can see which of the issues are in review and what are the items that is specific to you, that has been assigned to you. So all of these things you can get it inside the project area. So the project area is much more for streamlining the issues that you primarily are working, and if you're a maintainer, then you will have an overview of what's exactly going on. So the purpose of the project is little more elaborate, and most importantly, the project has got something called as workflows. So if you click on this workflows, you can do a lot of automations on the tasks also. So whenever the issues and the tasks are moving between the various statuses, like from backlog to ready to in progress and in review, so all of these things that is getting moved accordingly can be triggered other kinds of automations. So this is one of the benefits of working with GitHub repo and working with repository. So getting an overview of all of these tools and technologies that is already available with you is very crucial. So I believe that you guys have got a very good understanding of this entire process of how a new open source project is started, and how you can use the GitHub tools for managing those projects in a very streamlined fashion. You don't need to leave the GitHub itself, in fact, and you don't need to use any other channel for sharing the knowledge. And in fact, using any other channel is going to make you lose all the knowledge that you're gathering, right? So why will you actually go to those channels and lose the knowledge? So knowledge and the ideas that is shared by the team, especially if you're going to have a meeting which is going to be done verbally, you're going to lose all the ideas, because it's going to be done verbally and you have to take the notes manually. But if it is going to be in the discussion, so assume that you're going to go and create a discussion out of this, and the people start updating the details in the discussion first, and then you start having a meeting on that discussion, you can actually update the discussion later, right? So it is better than mails also. So even the mails will not come close to this, because the mail will be between 2 people or some 10 people, in fact, by doing a CC. But what about the future contributors who are joining? How will they get to know? How will you forward the mails to them? Doesn't make sense, right? So the discussion is a kind of a automation in itself, which shares the information not just with the current team members, but it also shares the information with the future team members also. Apart from that, you can add the videos that you are creating. You can add your audio transcription also in the discussion, and you can link the hosting website links to the discussion also. There are a lot of things you can do when it comes to the discussion area, as well as the issues area and the project area. So these 3 things, the projects, the discussion, and the issues, are important for the beginners. The pull requests and how the development happens and how the actual process flows, that will be taken care by the maintainer or by the moderator. They can take care of these pull requests. But from the coordinators and from the founders or from the project ideators, knowing these 3 areas, the issues, discussions, and the projects, is very important. So I believe that this particular video has given you an overview of how the open source project is started, what are the tools that is available for working with async type of work, how to make the async experience best. We have seen the benefit of async work, and when to do async, and how to share the knowledge over various async mode of communication, and we also saw why to async. So I believe that this video has been helpful, and thanks for giving me this opportunity to share this information. See you guys and have a great time.